All right, Jason, welcome.
Hello, how are you today, Mark?
I am probably better than you because I'm back in Los Angeles, and I heard you were telling me 5 inches of snow in Carolina.
It's amazing. Yeah, just when we were saying it was a mild winter, in the last 2 weeks, I think the kids have missed like 8 out of 10 days of school. It's not over yet. The groundhog didn't lie.
Yeah, well, groundhog. He's going to see a shadow. Of course, he's going to be scared of it. For God's sakes, that's what they
Yeah,
say. So, hey, I really appreciate you participating in our leadership series. You guys have some really unique insights, perspectives, what's going on. So, let's get started. First of all, can you introduce yourself and say, who you work with, what you do, and a little bit about your background?
sure. I'm Jason Lee. I work for a company called Harvard Maintenance Incorporated. I'm not sure how many folks are familiar with the name Harvard. Of course, it's usually associated with the university. But we're a building service contractor. We've been privately owned for over 50 years. Originally based out of New York. Our company headquarters is now out of Miami. And we do a lot of different type of services. Our main, I guess, entity, if you will, is commercial cleaning for the commercial and education clients across the nation. Some of my background, I've had an opportunity to work in a lot of different market segments because whether it be Harvard or my previous company, assisting a lot of Fortune 500 companies with sustainability initiatives or compliance criteria, depending on whatever their goals are
Hmm.
internally. And also, I've also done some additional things. When I first came out of college, I joined the military. I served actually 6 years. I also went to Desert Storm. And after the military, I was given the opportunity to also coach some college football at a military college. Uh, and then, of course, moved on to a construction company, which obviously helped me on the engineering side and brought me to the O&M piece.
That's awesome. Well, first of all, let me formally thank you for your service. Not just saying that; it's really appreciated because I think we take a lot for granted, unfortunately, and without people like you, I mean, you make a big difference. So thank you for that.
Thank you. It really means a lot.
Um, can you tell us how? Maybe start. How does Harvard Maintenance differentiate itself from being just another company?
It's we have actually our company owner really embraces people, and he's actually tagged it as the inverted pyramid, to where it's really a flat line management structure. And I think that's important because all of us have very similar to the military that I was used to, that management structure. We all play a critical role towards the ultimate goal, and that's to be successful. We win as a team, we lose as a team.
And with what you do, a lot of people think like, well, maintenance, at a high level because it's called Harvard. But what do you do that's different?
If you could go ahead and repeat that, there was a little
Yeah,
skipped a little bit there.
I think we actually froze there for a second. With respect, people hear maintenance, so they think cleaning, etc. They hear Harvard, so they think very smart. What do you do that's different?
I think it starts with our third-party certifications. A lot of folks aren't aware there's actually third-party certifications for corporations who do commercial cleaning, both commercially and for as I mentioned, for education campuses. Those being Green Seal, I think everyone's familiar with Green Seal with products. They also certify services. We're a Green Seal 42 custodial service provider, in addition to what's called SIMS, Cleaning Industry Management Standards. And that follows very similar to an ISO type guideline as far as standardized processes that are scalable across the organization.
I know this you can't do this in a few words, but I'm going to ask you to do it anyway. What's your definition of leadership?
I think it's a great question. And the first thing I think you have to view it as leadership has to take place at every level of the organization, regardless of your role, in order to be successful. Uh, it's really a focus of, of course, you have to be influential. That's very key. You have to have the ability to communicate at all levels. Uh, and of course, at the same time, you really have to take, it's really less about your needs and it's more about the people and the needs of the organization.
I know you got a pretty diverse background. Obviously, military, sports, corporate. You'd appreciate this. I was talking to a sports executive of a professional league, and he said, of course, every year we go to win the championship. We want to win the championship. That's the goal. We know we're probably not going to win it every year, but one thing we're absolutely adamant about is to have consistently winning seasons. And he was comparing that to business. How do you prepare yourself? How does Harvard Maintenance, prepare themselves with their talent and leadership, to have consistent winning seasons, whatever the definition of winning season is?
I think it has to start with resiliency. You not only have to experience success, but you also have to experience some adversity along the way. And when you build a team based on that, whether it's through preparation or actual so-called, on-the-job training, if you will, through those adverse times, those are the times that you learn from. There's no such thing as a good loss, but I think at the end of the day, as long as there's good takeaways and you learn from the experience and don't repeat those mistakes.
It's an interesting comment, because another executive told me a while back, the best return on investment a lot of times I get is not firing somebody that made a mistake, because as in a sports coach, the player will do anything for the coach that stands up for them. So I'll get my best return on investment by, having them make sure they learn from that and then moving forward. If I fire them, I've lost all that.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, that's from the coaching experience that I had, I was fortunate to have a great head coach who was former military, so it was a great bond there. First of all, but yeah, I'd love to take those same concepts and bring them into the business world.
It's actually quite exciting to make those comparisons. Your official title, I think, is something to the effect of Director of Strategic Alliances and Sustainability. Is that correct, or almost?
That is correct. There's a rhyme or reason for that.
Give us a sense of what your objectives are in that, and with whom you engage to achieve those, and then I want to get a little more into the sustainability part.
Absolutely. It's kind of a quasi role. It evolves, as you can imagine, as the whole concept around collaboration and social responsibility, and of course sustainability continues to evolve. We could talk on this for a long time, but I'll give you an idea, kind of a snapshot. At the end of the day, really, and I'll kind of, we hear about obviously economic return, but there's a coined term out there called triple bottom line. And we put human capital first. We're a service-based industry. Labor is our number one asset. People are most important to us. So social responsibility, human capital is number one. So really from our perspective, or my perspective, whenever we're looking at whether it's a job, a new opportunity, whatever it might be, a training tool, etc., we want to know the impact or the positive benefit it could bring to the people first socially. And then we look at the other items, obviously. Economically, is economically feasible, regardless of the return or the life cycle analysis we do on it. And then, of course, on the sustainability side, we look at the environmental impact. We definitely don't want to have any negative
impact. We've noticed over the years there used to be environmentalists against business. And then we saw that the only way it was going to work was that it's not just where they have to show that it actually works for business and for the environment at the same time, which is clearly what you guys are striving for. And we work with clients, for example, that are more and more involved in the sustainability and the clean tech arena and renewable energy, etc. What do you see that business leaders, I guess many of them are and can be your clients, what can they do to make a difference both in their results and their communities?
It has to start with transparency. You have to build that awareness internally. Going back to your last question, that's one of the first parts that I do. You can call it collaborative, stakeholder, shareholder, or engagement, whatever it might be. There's a lot of terms out there that kind of captures that. And I'll give you an example. We're not asking for a siloed approach of sustainability. What you're really looking for is, again, from an HR department as an example, what can they do to become more socially responsible in their practices? What can an operations do to become more economically feasible, if you will? So what you're doing in purchasing is a great example. You're hearing a lot about supply chain. What can you do as a supply chain, a procurement officer, to embrace or even to optimize your position with sustainability type initiatives?
We do a lot of, actually, you mentioned supply chain, we do a lot of supply chain management searches, and it's changed quite a bit, as we're probably both unfortunately old enough to remember that it used to be there was purchasing, there was warehousing, there was distribution, there was whatever, all that, and now it's supply chain. And it certainly has developed technologically, but when you have the sustainability factor, there's a lot of potential to make a big impact on the business, right? Did I lose you?
No. I
Yeah.
was following you on
So,
this.
how do you advise
Supply
when
chain piece.
you get introduced to a client? What's your first steps? How does Harvard Maintenance, propose or advise what a company should do?
Yeah, you froze a little bit, but if I understood, how do we talk
Right.
to a client when they're looking to become more sustainable, if you will? Yeah. I think, again, just to kind of summarize that, first and foremost, there is a shared responsibility. And once you realize, I think it goes back, if you were to ask all corporate executives, does everyone sell within your organization? Absolutely, we're all selling. As safety becomes more of a culture, we all realize that we have to be responsible when it comes to safety. It's no different when it comes to sustainability. We all have a shared responsibility when it comes to sustainability. Again,
Do you
depending on our
predominantly speak
dedicated roles in
to
that
chief
department.
financial officer if they have many don't yet, but they're starting to have heads of sustainability, or who do you speak to in the company to initiate all that?
It varies. As you kind of mentioned, it kind of depends on where that company is in this evolution of sustainability. Some folks have green teams, advisories. Some have a so-called third-party consultant that we would work through. A great example is yours, as you mentioned, was we're starting to see more dedicated roles to sustainability. We're even seeing CSOs, chief sustainability officers, even at that level. But to answer your question, it's a lot of times we'll begin with procurement, and I'm using a new client as an example. So we're educating the new client from a procurement perspective, usually through the sourcing side, of what we can, and we talked about in the beginning as far as differentiation, and at the same time how they can benefit. Because again, what we bring to the table is how they can obviously take advantage of some of our programs or processes, but also some of it kind of a pay it forward, if you will. We'll also come in with our expertise and provide some suggestions or recommendations for some key performances that they may do
Cool.
on behalf of their
So a
their
couple of personal
organization at
questions,
the same
not too
time.
personal. A couple of personal questions. Do you have a pet or pets?
I do. I have two cats. They're both rescue cats. It's a great story. The first one, I'll make this quick. Just because he's been around for about 18 years. We really don't know how old he is. We got him like 13 years ago, 14 years ago. He was already full grown. We're told that he was somewhere around 5 years old. But we went to the Humane Society for a kitten, and this guy just, what can I say? He had us at hello, So, and the other one was, I think someone dropped him off, or her. I think someone dropped her off in the neighborhood. There's a kitten, and then we brought her in, thought we would just kind of take care of her through some colder months
She
here.
claimed you.
Next thing I know, she's
well, we're doing
she's claimed us.
it's a long story too, but we're doing a
Exactly.
series called Pets and Their Executives. It used to be executives and their pets, but it switched to pets and their executives. So you'll have to send us a picture of you and your two smart cats. That'd be great. That'd be great.
I would be happy to.
We'll do the video
those
on
videos,
that.
they talk too.
Why not? Do you have a favorite activity
There
or
you
sport?
go, right? Take it to the next level. Oh, you know what I do? I grew up playing hockey, originally from Michigan. But I have to tell you, of course, I found out I really I wasn't big enough, quite big enough, and I wasn't too good of a skater as I got older. So transformed that into football, took those skill set.
Oh, I have.
And
I'm
as
from
I got
Canada.
older, I started playing rugby. I don't know if you've been exposed to rugby, but there you go. It's an amazing team sport. We talk about the shared responsibility. You have 30 guys out on a pitch, 15 to a side, and there's no play calling. It's nonstop, and the preparation. That's the reason why I say this. The preparation that goes into it. No one's barking out calls. No one's. You have to all see the same thing and
Yeah, and all that
adjust on the
equipment that you
fly.
get to not wear.
So it's an amazing sport. Rugby's my favorite.
It's unreal. It's
That's
crazy.
right. Yeah.
Hey, do you have a favorite movie or TV show?
Not getting hurt is obviously a plus. Oh, well, movies easy. Well, kind of easy. Shawshank Redemption's my favorite. A close second is
Oh, very
Dances
cool.
with Wolves.
All right.
That probably goes back
Do you
to
have a
my
favorite
heritage.
type of
I'm
music
Chippewa
then?
Indian from Michigan, so.
Do you have a favorite type of music
Yeah.
then?
And as far as
Motown, nice. All right.
I'm sorry?
Of course. And what about food that
Of
you're
course,
eating while you're
Motown.
listening to that?
Absolutely.
What kind of food's your favorite?
That's right. Yeah. It
is.
I don't know. I would probably have to call it comfort food. I don't know if that's a type
I'm with
of
you,
foodie,
especially when
but,
it gets cold.
I guess being from the Midwest, I'm a
Hey, listen,
comfort
thanks
food
so
kind of
much
guy.
for participating, and I'm sure we'll see you soon.
Exactly.